Looking at I suppose, and I'm stuttering here, in a place of employment, I'm assuming that she's actually got a white male boss. And the thing is, it's her choice to do so. But she can't be blaming whether he's paying her less. And we've discussed this before, because actually it doesn't equate to actually women paying less, because they take time off, they want to have children or whatever. However, she doesn't have to settle for that if she doesn't want to. She can go and create something her own. There's nothing you can't learn right now online that'll set you up on your own.
Yeah,
if you actually wanted to go and learn, hypothetically, the guitar, you could go and learn how to play the guitar from YouTube videos if you really wanted to. And self-teach yourself. There's plenty of information out there to be able to do that.
But that's different to running a business.
Sorry?
That's different to running a business.
Well,
so learning a skill is different to running a business.
So you learn how... Okay, let's say, take the guitar, for example. You learn how to play the guitar online, and then you set up a band, or you set yourself up as a teacher.
See, that's different. So learning a skill is completely different from being self-directed in a business sense.
But if you've got a skill, you can actually turn that into a business. I know someone who actually learnt everything about videography from watching YouTube videos and going online, and set up a quite a successful business model now.
That's great, but give you an example. That's why most chefs are not restaurant owners. They're chefs. Because being self-directed and running a business is a different skill set to being a chef. And most people don't want to think. You see, that's why totalitarian states and communism works, because people don't want to think. They respond quite nicely to structure and leadership and fear. So therefore, in this supposed new world where everyone is meant to be a small business owner, it's complete nonsense.
Well, no,
because people don't want to, and they can't.
Okay, we need to... no, I'm going to have to disagree with you to a point. Not everyone's going to be a great entrepreneur or great business owner. I accept that. However, if you've actually looked at all the think tanks and all the future of work reports, we're not in an industrial revolution anymore. And when I call the industrial revolution, even the corporate space was a white-collar industrial revolution where you actually had workers working for you. We are going very much down this route of... They call it the gig economy. They call it the entrepreneurial revolution. Right now, we are going into a time in the market landscape where we are all going to be, or most of us are going to be self-employed to a degree. We're going to be on short-term contracts. We're going to move from gig to gig, as they say. So the thing is...
Disaster.
It could very well be a disaster, but the thing is
that's not what humans do.
And I think it was Darwin who actually said, it's the people who adapt to change the quickest who are going to be the most successful, or something along those lines.
Yeah, but success
and if the market... Hold on a second. If the market landscape is changing, we've got to learn to adapt, and it's the ones who can adapt quickest that will actually be better suited. And if it means actually having to learn how to manage running a business, then you may have to do so. Because let's face it, there's plenty of applications and technology out there that can do your accounting for you, and all you need is a certain level of structure. Now, if that's not your thing, because it's not in your personality or your traits, go and find a business partner who is. So you use your skill set and they can become the face of a company. There's many solutions out there to be able to do so. But actually going to university, and I read this, apart from law, and even I even have to question things like that now, like law, accounting, and things like this, of those type of people who are going to actually earn more with a degree. And not that I disapprove of a degree, because I still believe in it. There's an element where people coming out of university are not getting the jobs that are actually justify spending all that money, and a lot of them, I mean, let's face it, are working in places like Starbucks and things like that, just to actually just be able to be stimulated and to be able to work. And a lot of it right now is to do with a lot of nepotism. And I haven't got nothing against nepotism, because I think it's how the world works. So the people who are getting into those high-level positions will genuinely because you know someone. In fact, 80% of the jobs out there are going to people who have been referred or who they've had a connection with. So only a small margin of that, 20%, if that, and this has come back to the Pareto principle, that's going to actually very cold prospects who then become employees. And if so, they're not being paid as much, which is why salaries haven't really increased much in the last 20 years, as we well know.
Yep, and 90...
So we are going down that road, and we've got to adapt. And actually, most people are in the position where, and there's more more people entering the market, or new entrants into the market now, who are having to start their own business because they've got no other option. And they're actually going to have to learn how to do it.
And the fact is, most people can't do it, and most people don't want to do it. So that's a big problem.
Which is why a lot of them are going to these business consultants, and there's a lot of mediocre ones out there who are giving you over, they're giving you, false promises and overinflated results and things like this. Earn 100k in 6 months. It's unrealistic.
Well, the bottom line is that 98% of jobs are not careers; they're jobs.
Well, we've said that.
And
before,
a job is something you wouldn't do unless you're paid. So the bottom line is you have to work to live, not live to work. Now we've already talked about the fact that one of the catastrophes is too many immigrants and effectively society expecting women to go to work as well as having families, because it's all supply and demand. If you massively increase the number of the workforce, you're simply going to devalue that workforce. So now, where you used to have one man earning money, you now have the man and woman earning money, and guess what? The net effect is they're probably now earning the same final salary as just the man.
Yeah, but that's unavoidable now, because that's the way the market landscape has gone, and people.
Yeah, but now you've destroyed families, and now you've destroyed identity.
It could very well be. I mean, we've discussed this on previous podcasts. I remember when I was a kid that all the shops were closed on Sundays, and people didn't really work Sundays. So there was a lot more family unity. You sat around the table. You actually had the roast dinner, which was very much our culture in those days, and you had friends and family over, and you celebrated your Sunday, because obviously...
Which brings us full circle to the coronavirus, because if you notice, the bottom-up authoritarianism has already started. There is far more episodes of unacceptable racist, not that racist behaviour is ever acceptable, it's unacceptable racist behaviour against Asians and Italians. That's interesting, isn't it?
What, against Asians and Italians?
Yes. In other words, the two main sources of the coronavirus. I mean, complete nonsense. But people are beginning to become more nationalistic.
Yeah, but racism is bred from fear, though, isn't it?
Correct. But it's not just fear. No, it's not fear. Well, it's fear of the unknown, fear of the different. Because remember, we are tribal, and we always coalesce to an identity which is most easily available. So monkeys, for instance, they have their tribe, they have their leaders, and then they patrol the margins of their territory, and they tear apart any foreign monkeys. And we are just the same. And if we are not given a national identity, if we're not given a community identity, we simply coalesce into little groups of local identities, of identity politics, of
fighting for space on a smaller mass of land.
And what we do is we then become aggressive to anybody who's not like us. So that's why you get these little angry groups of different identities, whether it's feminists, whether it's gays, whether it's transgenders, whether it's fat people, thin people, short people, whatever it is, and they're angry about everything else. Now, coronavirus is maybe a reintroduction. It's going to give us the opportunity to become nationalist again, British. because we are battening down the hatches and protecting ourselves again. So perhaps this is also another. It could produce another excuse for that. The other conspiracy theory is, of course, climate change, because of course, if industry is suffering, if airlines are going under, if the price of oil has halved, that's all music to the ears of the climate change people, isn't it?
Of course. I mean, climate change is a topic that we probably should discuss. Not today, because we're pretty much running out of time. But do you want to wrap this one up?
Yes. The thing to understand is always look at the science and the statistics. It is not my opinion that coronavirus is has no greater mortality than the common flu. It is statistics.
Actually, just quickly with the coronavirus, let me throw something at you out there, because one of the things that was suggested from a professional in this area was to take more zinc. How would that benefit?
Zinc helps the immune system. And again, the Italians have been, the Chinese have been recommending vitamin C, but again, these are all standard things that people should be doing anyway. So the key thing is, one, look at the statistics. There's no greater mortality than the flu, but be careful of vulnerable people, old, immunocompromised, because if they get ill, they're more likely to need intensive care. Second, stop listening to the news, because that's all they talk about, and repetition is, because we're human, we cannot help but start getting more and more anxious about potentially nothing. Also, look at what the government have done. Boris Johnson is highly intelligent, and he's a charming psychopath. He has an elevated sense of grandiosity and self-esteem. He's going to protect himself in any way possible, including his standing as Prime Minister. If he's taking a more relaxed approach, it really means there's nothing to worry about. For instance, if it was the plague, you can bet your life everything would have been battened down, and there would have been military on the street. But it's not. People are being allowed to come back from Italy and go on the tube around central London. You can't stop the flu. So stop listening to the news, be sensible, eat healthily, sleep well, look after your elderly and immunocompromised people, and enjoy life.
I think
live normally.
I think only time will tell, and so we really, I don't know. I mean, you say don't watch the news. I mean, I'm thinking actually, I think you need to be able to watch the space and see what culminates. Something interesting, something that may not be fully visible to us, but is underneath the surface. Whether it's economically, whether it's political leverage, whatever it is.
Well, Nadine Dorries, the health minister, now has coronavirus, and she's self-isolating happily at home. It'd be interesting to see if Boris gets coronavirus and is filmed with his bathrobe, behind his desk, showing that it's all okay, really.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to happen. Okay, guys, I think we're going to leave it there, and we'll speak to you next week. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.